The voice of the Twin Tiers. News Channel 25, WVTT. Depend on it.
Taking our first look at weather on WVTT. Earlier today, a high temperature of 19 degrees. The snow showers are going to continue overnight, low temperature of 6. And during the daytime on Tuesday, the high only 10 degrees. Meteorologist Jim Rinaldi will have the WVTT Severe Weather Action Team forecast coming up here on WVTT.
Global news update on WVTT.
Hope, healing, nonviolence, and the word of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a famed preacher, brought that message to Newtown, Connecticut yesterday as the community continues to recover from last month's school tragedy. Neka Nuoso reports.
They gathered together with a message of peace.
To mend hearts.
Restore lives.
Heal divisions.
People of different faiths and talents.
Through the dark and moving forth.
This special church service, part of Newtown's healing process. Just 5 weeks ago, a gunman killed 20 local school children and 6 adults. And on this Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend, Newtown residents learned the civil rights leader truly knew their pain.
King saw children in his own church taken from their loved ones by senseless violence when his church was bombed.
But it was his message of nonviolence that prevailed. Noted preacher Dr. James Forbes gave the sermon at Newtown Congregational Church Sunday. He urged the community to turn the terrible events into something good.
We must extract from the tragedy that which really makes our town go down in history as the place where the most awful thing happened. But by the nature of God's action, things began to be dealt with, to be questioned, to be thought, and that out of it, America, what's the phrase? Newtown leads to a new America.
And just as Dr. King brought people together, Forbes urged Newtown residents to always look to one another to get through the tough times.
Here in the U.S., 2 political parties can create chaos. Imagine 34 parties running in Israel's national election that takes place tomorrow. The Prime Minister's Likud party is expected to secure the right to form the next government. CNN's Sarah Snyder looks at how that outcome could affect Israel's allies and its biggest foe.
2 days ago, Israel bombed 5 nuclear sites deep inside Iran. They have vowed to retaliate against the West.
A scenario about Israel and Iran dreamed up to titillate audiences in the popular television series Homeland. The question is, in 2013, will reality imitate art? This month, in the lead up to the Israeli election, this is what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said to visiting U.S. senators.
My priority, if I'm elected for next term as Prime Minister, will be first to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons.
Iran is still insistent its nuclear program is for civilian purposes such as power. But at his speech in the United Nations General Assembly, Netanyahu was clear on the deadline he is convinced still rings true.
By next spring, at most by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb.
If sanctions and talks don't impede the timeline, what happens next if Netanyahu is chosen again to lead the Israeli government as predicted? Former member of Israel's military intelligence and expert on the Middle East, Mordecai Kedar, says he's not convinced Israel will make a military move without help.
Israel has its ability to do something, yet the distances are far. We don't have aircraft carriers around Iran. And we have to pass over hostile countries like Iraq and Saudi Arabia. So definitely it is technically very hard. And this is why I'm at all not sure that Israel will sacrifice itself in order to save the world.
Still, Israel's leadership says all options are on the table when it comes to Iran, which could include a strike. The majority of analysts, though, say that won't happen without the military might of its largest ally, the United States. Which brings into focus a thorny subject that has made headlines in the lead up to the Israeli election, the highly strained relationship between President Barack Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu.
I would say just one thing. You ain't seen nothing yet. Because what you see now is President Obama re-elected, therefore much less depending on pro-Israeli forces in America, and therefore much less restrained in his relationship with the Israeli Prime Minister. And what you see is an Israeli Prime Minister, who is, I would say, a rational, civilized conservative, whose party was taken over by the Israeli Tea Party.
But analysts say so far their apparent dislike for each other on a personal level and disagreement on other issues will not change their country's military and intelligence cooperation. What that means for Iran this year will depend more on Iran's actions than anything else. Sarah Sider, CNN, Jerusalem.
What the Cordell kids wanted was a dog, and with one photo and a little help from their social media network, the family now has a furry, four-legged Facebook edition. Kana Whitworth has the story from Mansfield, Massachusetts.
It's nothing new for kids to want a puppy, so when these kids in Mansfield asked their dad for one, he thought he had a good plan.
I thought I was being very clever by saying, well, you'd have to get 1 million likes.
Mom took the picture. The sign reading, "If we get 1 million likes, we get a puppy." Side note, Dad doesn't think we can do it. Once this sign went up, it took less than 6 hours for the Cordells to hit that 1 million mark. So Dad came through on his promise. They adopted what they think is a lab shepherd mix while on a trip to New York.
What did you name your puppy?
Millie.
Millie? So if you go by her full name, according to Joe, it's Millie S'more Cordell. And how big is she going to be?
This big.
The power of social networking propelling the story to a national, then global level. So much so, it's prompted a geography lesson. Soldiers in Afghanistan, moms from Lebanon, all giving their likes and sending messages. For the most part, the reaction's been overwhelmingly positive, but the Cordells don't want to take any risks with their kids' privacy.
It's a little bit scary. I have about 20 close friends that are moderating the page, and they are going in there and making sure there are no nasty comments. They are helping answer the thousands of messages we've gotten.
The addition to the family is exciting, but Dad is making it clear the pup stops here.
The markets were closed today due to the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, so no WVTT Wall Street wrap-up. Still to come tonight on Twin Tiers Evening News. A look at WVTT sports, also our community calendar, and meteorologist Jim Rinaldi with the WVTT Severe Weather Action Team forecast. It's straight ahead tonight on News Channel 25 WVTT.